power. No, not that kind. More like power. Today in Psychology, we'll be talking about the big guy, the ones in charge, and also the little guys, and how to change that power dynamic when needed. First, let's cover the 6 types of social power. 1. Reward power. This is when you give rewards when others comply. 2. Coercive power. This is when you give punishments if people don't comply. 3. Referent power. This is when you have power because you're a role model for another person and they want to model after you. 4. Legitimate power. This is power that comes from a position, like your parents or your elders. The role is more powerful than the person actually in it. 5. Expert power. This is when your actual skills, knowledge, or other credentials give you power. Lastly is informational power. This is a little different from the rest in that it's transitory, and you can shift power by choosing to share it or not share info. The most lasting and successful types of power are reward and expert power. There is a paradox when it comes to power. When we think of those powerful, we think of people who have used underhanded tricks, money, force, manipulation, coercion, or other tactics in order to get where they are. However, this isn't the case in real life. The ones with the most power are ones who are empathetic and attentive to others' needs and interests. Power is not something that's taken, it's something that's given. The principle of least interest is one way to change power dynamics. This is the idea that the person who has less at stake and less interest in whatever the situation is has more power and room to negotiate and demand. If you can get others to be fearful, you can accumulate a lot of power over them. In moral panic, those in power, like the media, police, or politicians, create a fearful situation in order to make people vulnerable and have better control over their thoughts and actions. This is a form of informational and legitimate power. By controlling what information they share with you and you believing it based on their role, they can manipulate what you think and do. One horrible use of power that you should learn about only to recognize and avoid or help others avoid is gaslighting. Use your powers for good. Gaslighting is when a person makes their victim question reality by slowly lying, denying, using what you care about, wearing you down, creating cognitive dissonance, confusing, projecting, turning you against everyone and everyone against you, and basically making you feel crazy in order to gain control. Another effect about having influence or power is the social learning theory. This theory is how you can get someone to imitate and model after your behavior. First, someone is most likely to imitate behavior to people that are similar to themselves. This includes gender, age, anything like that. Second, if they're rewarded for this behavior, it's going to become reinforced and thus increased. Third, we'll look at how others are treated for following this behavior and judge if we want to experience that. This is known as vicarious reinforcement. If you want to study the cognitive side, there are 4 processes involved: attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation. These are all pretty self-explanatory terms, but basically if all these things are high and present, it is more likely someone is going to model after you, thus giving you power over them and what they do. Resisting influence is also a type of power. Remember, because power is given, you're in control over how much power someone else has over you. Finally, let's discuss how minority or people not in power can influence. Obviously, sometimes the people in the power are the minority, but for the sake of these examples, let's assume that they're the ones without. While it's true that being part of a group affects the individuals in it, those in the group can still affect the group. Those in the group can still affect it too. Some factors that play into the success of this is the size of the minority. 2 or more people that are consistent in their arguments are more likely to be more credible than just one. So try to find someone to be on your side. Next, the size of the majority. The bigger the majority, the less the influence of the minority matters. After size, behavioral style, which is how consistent and flexible the minority is. The more they are these things, the better chance that those in the majority will adapt to their views. The influence of the minority is difficult to adapt because it requires internal change of thought, while conforming to a majority only requires external or public change. However, you could use this as an advantage if most people in the group only publicly agree, not privately, then you can change their opinion since they already agree with you secretly. It helps also to bring new and unexpected information to the group, which causes them to rethink or examine things closer. It's very difficult to influence others through normative means if you're the minority, so you'll have to use information. Today, we talked about power and how to shift it around. If you want to learn more about power, be sure to check out the links below, and be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts, questions, or experiences. See you next time, and remember to behave yourself.